Okay, in this video I'm going to go over decimal rounding, and the book does a good job of explaining it, but it is a little bit awkward concept sometimes, and they also gave some good examples, but I'm just going to go down. There are four rules that the book gives you, okay? And I'll just start off at number one. So number one, it says that when the last digit to be retained is greater than 5, increase the last number by 1. Okay, so let's just say that we started off with 0.898, and we have three decimal places, and we're rounding to 2. This is exactly the same as your exercises. So remember, we're going from 3 to 2. So the last number to be retained is talking about is the second number, okay, because we're going to two decimal places. When the figure following the last digit to be retained is greater than 5, okay, so it's saying this number is greater than 5, increase the last number by 1, okay? This is the last number that we're rounding to. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so this number is greater than 5. This is the last number we're keeping. We need to go up by 1. And when it's saying 1 there, we're dealing with two decimal places, so we're going up by 0.01 really. Okay, so 0.898 would be rounded up to 0.90. Okay, so let's look at another example, 0.496. Okay, so this is another example of, it says we're on rule 1. When the figure following the last digit be retained is greater than 5, okay, this number is greater than 5, increase the last number by 1. This is the last number it's talking about, so we're going to go up by 0.01. So that would be 0.50. Okay, let's do another one. 0.047. Okay, last number is greater than 5. The last number we're going to keep is this one, so we want to go up by 1. Okay, 0.01, however you want to look at it, is 0.05. Okay, so that's rule number 1. Let's look at rule number 2. Okay, rule number 2 says that when the figure following the last digit be retained is less than 5, retain the last number. Oh, sorry about that. So let's take a look at some examples here. So 0.644. So when the figure following the last digit to be retained, okay, this number is less than 5, okay, 4 is less than 5, retain the last number. So this is the last number we want. It's just saying to keep it. So 0.644, we go to 0.64. Let's look at another one, 0.601. Okay, again, this number is less than 5, so we want to retain the last number we want to keep, which is this number, so we just want to keep that at 0.60. 0.043, again, this number on the end is less than 5. Retain the last number we want to keep. It's 0.04, or the number to the left is probably a better way to say it. All right, so look at rule number 3. When the figure following the last digit be retained is exactly 5. All right, the other two rules were more than 5, less than 5. This is saying when it's exactly 5 and the figure to be retained is odd, increase the last number by 1. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. Okay, so the last number is exactly 5. Okay, the last number we're going to keep is odd. Okay, so that's what rule 3 says, is when the figure following the last digit be retained is exactly 5 and the figure to be retained is odd, which is the 1. Okay, it says increase the last number by 1. Okay, so we just want to up that by 1. Okay, and that would make that 0.02. Okay, let's look at another example, 0.175. Okay, again, the last number to be retained is exactly 5. I'm sorry, I almost said that wrong. The number on the end here is exactly 5. The last number that we want to retain is odd. Okay, so we want to increase that number by 1, so that would be 0.18. Let's look at another example, 0.495. Okay, last number is exactly 5. This number is odd. Okay, so we want to round up, and that would be 0.50. Don't forget the 0 because we're rounding to two decimal places. Okay, and then finally, the last rule says when the figure following the last digit be retained is exactly 5 and the figure to be retained is even. Last time, everything's the same about rule 3 and 4, except this time we're talking about the second number being even instead of odd. retain the last number. Okay, so let's look at some examples. 0.025. Okay, the last number is exactly 5. This number is even, so we just want to retain that number. So 0.025 will become 0.02. 0.185. Okay, the last number is exactly 5, so we just want to retain the next number because this is even, so that would just be 0.18. And then let's look at one more, 0.505. Okay, last number is exactly 5. This number is even. Okay, those two things together means that we just want to retain that last number, so we get 0.50. Okay, now take a look. These answers are exactly the same. Look at the number we started off with and look what we rounded to. Okay, so I wanted to show you something a little bit interesting. In addition to these examples I have here, you also have the examples in the book. So when you're going through and doing these exercises, the first thing you want to do is probably look at the last number. Okay, and if the last number that you're looking at in your exercise is exactly a 5, you know that you want to look at rule 3 or 4. Okay, and then at that point you want to look at the next number. Is it odd or even? Well, if it's even, you want to apply rule 4. If that second number is odd, you want to apply rule 3. Okay, well, if the number if your last number on your exercise is above 5, you want to go to rule 1. If the last number on your exercise is below 5, you go to rule 2. Okay, so you kind of work backwards as you're going through your exercise, and hopefully that'll give you all the information you need to score well on this exercise. And that concludes this video.